Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone in the room. So first, a sound check. Can you hear me well? Also in the back rows? Yeah. So we decided to do it without microphone because last week it didn't work very well for the online people with the microphone. So we would continue without microphone. If there's any occasion when it's not loud enough, please let us know so that you all can hear very well what is being said. Yeah? Okay, excellent. Online people can hear me as well?
I'm checking with them.
Okay, you're checking with me.
Yes.
Yes, great. So welcome everyone here today for our second event in the panel discussion series of the Social-Ecological Systems Institute. My name is Jan Hansbach. I'm a junior research group leader on biocultural diversity in farming landscapes of the Global South here at Leuphana University. In last week's panel discussion, we discussed how to get unstuck in the polycrisis. Today, we're going to discuss about social ecological systems research in the Global South, beneficial or post-colonial. Social ecological systems research obviously is the focus of our institute. So there's many people doing different kind of this research. It aims to understand the interconnections between humans and nature from a holistic perspective. It combines methods and knowledge from different disciplines and tries to integrate different perspectives, values, worldviews, knowledges from non-academic actors and local people and communities in order to facilitate transformational changes towards justice and environmental health. A lot of this work, and maybe you have seen our exhibition in the foyer of the library, a lot of this work is happening in countries and places that have a history of colonization, that have a history of control and exploitation of territories, people, and nature. And many of us academics are from or based in countries that themselves have a history of colonizing, controlling, and exploiting. In the light of those histories, we want to discuss today what it can mean that social ecological systems research is beneficial and contributes to a better and just future. For this, I'm happy to welcome our four panelists today. I'm very happy that you're here. And I'd like to introduce to you Johanna Jacobi, who is an assistant professor of agroecological transitions at the ETH Zurich, where she and her research team study agroecology as a transdisciplinary science, a transformative practice, and a social movement. They work currently on farming systems in smallholder communities in Brazil, Bolivia, Ecuador, Ethiopia, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But they make links to the globalized markets and value chains and other influencing factors with political ecology approaches. And I think that Johanna has prepared an opening statement. You're welcome to give that now. So we will go through each of you, and each of you will give an opening statement.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Jan, and everyone for inviting me. It's the first time for me to be at Leuphana, and I'm very happy to be here. I was thinking when I heard that you're talking about social ecological systems research, beneficial or post-colonial, because I would think at best it would be beneficial and post-colonial. But then I thought we are not living in a post-colonial era. We are living in the middle of colonialism right now. If we think about colonialism as extractivism and also oppression of humans and non-humans. So I would say it should be beneficial and decolonial, or it's only beneficial if it is decolonial. That would be what my thought on this, no? So that we should talk about decolonial science anywhere. Yeah, normally I talk more about decolonial approaches to science here in Europe, where I also work, because I think the problems are right here with us. We need to decolonize our thinking, our science, and the way we do things first before we think about other places. I think it's even more a problem here than everywhere else. That's a bit my idea. But now at the moment, I'm thinking of different things when we talk about decolonial science, because it's very unpopular right now to be a decolonial scientist. No, we see research institutions are being closed for that. People lose their jobs for being decolonial. Because of course, if you are a decolonial scientist, it's very coherent to criticize colonialism everywhere. also in Israel and Palestine. And at the moment, we see that you cannot really do that. It's not accepted. And on the other hand, I would say that actually shows us how important the decolonial approach actually is. When we get pushback for our science and for our approaches, then we see, oh, there is something that is really transformative. And I think this was what I wanted to say as an opening statement. Don't be so much afraid of the pushback, because it shows that what you do is important.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Then I would like to introduce Jennifer Casanda-Cesabo. She's a senior lecturer at the Department of Economics at Mzumbe University, Tanzania. Currently, she works as a researcher in the collaborative research project Kilises, which examines the role of nature for human well-being in the Kilimanjaro social-ecological system. And she's in the project Climate Smart Futures in rural Tanzania, focusing on the role of farm organizations and women leadership in adopting climate smart practices by smallholder horticultural farmers, particularly women and youth in Tanzania. Very welcome.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so I'm very, how many have been to Tanzania? Yeah. So those who have been to Tanzania, habari. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. So it's not my first time to be in Germany. I studied in Germany, Hamburg University. I was in a research group we call Institute of Sustainability many years ago. So like I finished in 2006. So this is about many years. So now I'm back as a researcher from South, yeah. And this is the topic. So for me, yeah, really, when I see this topic, I try to reflect on my journey. So I've been a researcher, I've been participating in different collaborative projects. For me, when I look on this topic, I see some of the issues. So, and then I think in this gathering, we needed to discuss more, because our aim is to improve the situation. It's not to blame anyone, but we needed to improve so that we have positive outcomes. So when I see this kind of topic, I'm thinking, so which priorities are we talking about? Is it the priorities of global South or global North? And we know that we need to generate information. We need to generate knowledge. When we generate this knowledge, we need to disseminate to who? So when we disseminate to different stakeholders, we have policymakers, we have communities. This information useful? Yeah, so can this information bring change? And change in which perspective? I think everyone wants to be well off, yeah, economically, mentally, everyone. But also we need to take care of our environment, because we need to make sure that the future generation will benefit from these services and the goods which we are enjoying now. So my question to you all, how can we make this be positive? Yeah, we have our own history, and also the history also shape the future, but we really need to work together. So I love the real motto, which says that sharing minds, changing lives. So this is our motto. This is our vision. We needed to come together and share the minds for changing the lives of all the people. It doesn't matter in the global South, in the rural, in the urban. So I'm looking forward to this good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to introduce Amara Yankasonta is a social scientist with a PhD from the Indigenous University Siglo XX in Bolivia. And she has experiences in with sustainability research in Latin America and Africa. She currently works as a postdoctoral researcher on regenerative agriculture at the Helmholtz Center for Environmental Research in Leipzig, and as a lecturer here at the Faculty of Sustainability. Aymara is a decolonial feminist activist working on critical perspectives of sustainability and green alternatives, with a special focus on processes around neo-extractivism in agriculture. Welcome.
Dankeschön. Asker Kipanaya to all. I feel so happy to see all of your faces because I know most of you. And it is a safe space for all of us to exchange. So I will start with the term global south. Maybe because I feel resonance with what you were saying, but also global south, it moved me a lot. Like this feeling of who you represent and when this institution shopping works very well. And I would say that colonialism, internal colonialism happened here and there, everywhere. So we live the north and the south in this dramatic condition of rebuilding tools for extractivism. And when I imagine the narratives that come immediately now negating the climate change, the climate crisis, the political crisis, the genocide that we have in different territories, not only in Palestine, but also in Sudan, in the Amazon with the Yanomami territory, in Myanmar, and the structural genocide that we were living, in this case related with Latin America and consumption, the transformation of our landscape. The first idea that comes to my mind and to my heart is body and territory. How we territorialize our fights, no? It is a need when we are analyzing as researchers, but also as political actors who deal with transformation, what type of tools we build to stop this ecocide, genocide, and epistemicide. We are passing by this structure with sophisticated tools now, so it is an urgent need that we have to rethink the way that we are building knowledge. So a strong subjectivity, and instead of feeling that we don't have data enough to be neutral, how to build a strong subjectivity to transform the world, because we have plural views and plural visions that they are not alternatives. They exist, and for that reason, this world exists too. So to recover this feeling of collective hope, it's also the opportunity and the responsibility that we have as researchers, and with this I will put the Global South in the front too, to transform those visions that separate us in binary options, no? So South, North, women, men, old, young, white and black, all of those categories that put us in separation, to rebuild integral options. With this, just the beginning, and we can continue reflecting together. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And finally, we have Michelle Bonatti, who is an associate professor of environmental sociology at the University of Vila Velha, Brazil, and deputy head of the Social-Ecological Group at the Leibniz Center for Agricultural Landscape Research in Germany. She has worked at the FAO and led several research platforms and projects in Latin America, Asia, and Africa, focusing on co-design of innovations and social learning for sustainable land use.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm so grateful for the invitation, Marta. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be also sitting here with you. I feel very touched also to be here with the audience to talk this topic. And Jan just said, I'm working on the global north and the global south equally. And the global north, I'm the global south person. When I go to the global south, I'm the global north person, and which makes my life very interesting, but also so full of questions. And I'm here to share questions with you, try to bring some answers, hear from you. And to start with this statement, I would like to somehow provoke and say that coloniality and oppressive structures, they operate and they are so robust because sometimes they feels like a very subtle system or kind of almost invisible thing that you cannot grab. And I ask you, where do you see it in your life, in your projects, in your socio-ecological systems research? I would like to hear from you because as soon we cannot really detect, we cannot work on it. And this is this embedded all research. It's a base of our mental models in the day by day. And I would like to share and hear with you where you see it, where you see coloniality in your day by day.
Thank you very much. So maybe you could start telling a little bit of your experiences and where you saw coloniality in your research journey that you had, or your personal life that made you realize there needs to change something. So maybe there was some specific event or some things that dragged on. So maybe you could share that a little bit from your more personal experience. Would you want to start, Michelle, or?
I can start with a very concrete example, also of these two words and how privilege work. For example, for publication systems, which is one of the biggest metrics that we have to see who is successful or who is impactful. So publication is this big system, and in certain point, living here, I start to receive requests from colleagues from the Global South if they can include someone that has a German name on the publication, because the chance that will be accepted, it's much higher. And I thought, wow, how privileged work. And then recently, I think most of you also know, many of the journals or big journals that are open access has agreement with German government, with other global North governments. So open access is directly paid for people that are working in global North institutions, which also make that sometimes colleagues from the Global South ask for, maybe if you are in the publication, then the publication can be sent to much more journals, because now people from the Global South, they cannot publish in many journals because they have to pay $4,000, $3,000, euros. And this sometimes is the whole budget for the whole project that they have there. So they even cannot say, if they cannot publish, they continue being invisible. And it's also reinforced that people that are publishing, and now it's open access, they will be more cited. So it reinforced so much the privilege and the coloniality, although it's great that articles are more open access, so the visibility is more democratic, but the production is much less democratic. And why we don't question it? We are questioning many things as a researchers. We are questioning MPDI journals and criticizing this, but nobody in the North is criticizing the model that is privileged the global North. Everybody's benefiting from this. How we can deconstruct our own power?
Maybe I can
Yeah.
So I would like to connect with what you are saying, with the research that we did with Johanna during two years, no? With the synthesis project, was the name. So our responsibility was to analyze how transdisciplinary is the method of 43 projects in Switzerland. So they were saying that they were analyzing the initiatives, and the Global South and the Global North were together. But if you see the map, it was many countries in Africa, in Latin America, and Asia, and Switzerland. And I remember this logic of how they built the project. There were no transparency in the way that they were managing the budget. But actually, we must feel happy as Global South scholar that we have some jobs there. So that was a bit the beginning, and something that we learned from the inside, that it was mandatory to apply transdisciplinary methods. So what means transdisciplinary for some people? And we have plural visions of what is transdisciplinary research. So interdisciplines or For example, sharing information to the national level, and with this you do some incidents, or acting from the bottom-up initiatives, doing practical options with people, focusing in their own objectives and their own problematics. But something that surprised me, it was that we found in the qualitative result that some research, some scholars from the North, they were saying people from the South, they are not ready to write the articles or to produce their own knowledge. So we are still guiding this process because we know the rules and we are translating at the end, no? And it is the same when I look at museums here, no, with our cultural and political heritage, our ancestors, they are there, and they still like in custode, no, in taken care by some specific groups and institutions and infrastructure, because they say in the South we don't have infrastructure enough to take care of this material. So when we look at in this moment, like who is doing research and in which way they are doing research, one message that came from Nepal, I remember, they were asking for transparency, because we are not doing aid, we are not altruist, we are doing a service. And this service is really well paid. But I mean, this budget comes not as a contribution towards climate transformation. This is an historical revolution that we must do in some places where historically we were building ecocide and also epistemicide. So it is a main question about how we manage budget. In the future, most of you will be taking decisions about this, how we create different institutions to transform this logic.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want also to share my experience regarding publication. I think we had an article which it took us 2 to 3 years to be accepted. But at the end of the day, when it was already, so we have like 100 pages of review, the process in the email. But they came and said that you need to pay, I think it was close to £2,000. So we needed to pay for it to be online. So we said, no, we can't pay. So can we take it back? And they refused. They didn't, they didn't answer that email to date. But the problem here, so we have knowledge, yeah? We produce knowledge, and you want to know this knowledge to be outside there. But where can we publish it? And at the end of the day, someone will come and tell you that, okay, you have not cited this and this and this and this citation, but I'm doing the research in the context, yeah? So I needed to cite the output, which is like my context. It's not from another context. We need I'm from quantitative background, yeah. So you remember, so we need also to see the significance. So you need to show that. But everyone is talking about, in economics, quantitative are better. We needed to do modeling, but modeling for what? What are the useful of those modeling to a normal Tanzanian in the village? Because we needed to translate that modeling, and we use a simple language to disseminate to those people so that they can change. So all of those ones, it's like, it's from the, from me, I can say it's from the design. Yeah, from the design. When we design projects, which priorities are we using? Yeah, which priorities are we using, really? Which expertise are we using? Do we also say that, okay, maybe the villagers also, they are knowledgeable? We need to go and learn from them. Yeah, I can just give one example. And this example I'm giving every time. One of the former president, he was a member of parliament. So he went to the village along the coast and he asked the citizen, for me, I see that you need roads, yeah? So the infrastructure road was was not there. But the citizen, they told him, look here. So road is your priority, but it's not our priority. For us, we want electricity. Yeah, we needed to have light, yeah, in our homes, yeah. And for him, he was shocked, yeah, and he asked why. They said that if we have electricity, industry will come, small industry will come, and they will construct the road. Can you see they are thinking, they have never been to school, but they can reason, they know what they want. So every time when we try to design, I think we needed to go back, and talk, to include all possible, and they ask, what is your priority first? Or what is the problem? From community perspective, what is the problem? And from there, we just started designing with them the project, rather than said, we know, yeah, I've been educated, so I know your problem. But really says, yeah, that is not their problem, it's your problem. So that is what I can say.
Yeah, okay, of course, I also struggle a lot with patriarchal structures in my own university, where we have like about 12% of female professors. And I don't know if we have anyone from the Global South in the professorship, so this is really striking. I mean, I can see some willingness to change there at least. But what I find even more difficult is what has been called the positivistic epistemological supremacy. That if you want to do transdisciplinary research, you have to justify it all the time as this being science. And people come and say, how is this science if you just take perceptions of people? What do these people know? How can you not know your methods, the approaches in advance? Where we know that what you also said, and the first thing that we have to do is define the research question together and negotiate what the methods are and what the research is even about, to make sure that the priorities are actually relevant and that the research is actually useful. For that, we need transdisciplinarity. But as long as this is not really considered science, it's very hard to do this, and it's very hard to get research funds. It's hard to get it published. So I think there is really a struggle of decolonization within science that we have to do. I mean, I experienced it many times when I started, for example, with my master thesis, which I did in India, in a CGIAR organization, which is agricultural research in the sense of the Green Revolution. And I was wondering, why were people not going out talking to farmers when they did agricultural research? And they told me, we don't talk to farmers. We develop the varieties here in the lab. And I said, but how do you know that they will plant it then? And they said, they have to, because they're better than what they have. And then I really had to struggle to go outside to work with farmers, actually, right? And that was a bit where I woke up to these topics, thinking this cannot be research, because who knows if these varieties are then really useful. And it turns out we can see it with many things like golden rice or others. They are being developed and then people don't want it. And if we don't have qualitative research, social sciences coming together with the agronomic approaches, we will never understand what is actually useful or what is actually needed and wanted. And so there I think we need to do a lot of the struggle within the science against this epistemic supremacy has to go on, because it's not, I mean, there's this nice saying, not everyone that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So it is really so important that we come together more and accept really qualitative research and transdisciplinary research as science. And I don't see we're anywhere close there. And I also experienced that in global South countries where we worked with Aymara in Bolivia. It was the same quantitative, positivistic patriarchal system we were confronted with. Now that I work in DRC and Congo, also again in the Green Revolution institution, and they tell me the topics you're interested in, they don't play a role here. And then I go out, speak with people, and I see, no, they do play a role actually. And we develop the questions together. I go back to the institution and they say, oh no, but that's not relevant, right? So it's really still a struggle, and I think it's everywhere. And there's another point from my personal experience that I want to make, is that how can I, as a global North person, work in a global South country and then talk about deforestation and, you know, and people come and say, hey, but you have deforested everything in Europe. How are you coming here telling me that? But then my political ecology mind tells me, oh, who's asking this question actually? Is that a person from the community? No, usually it's a person from a company or from a local government. who say, you're not telling me that. And then I answered, but I'm part of a global movement. And that global movement is the movement of agroecology. And we fight against this everywhere, in the global north and in the global south and wherever we are. So yes, I can talk about it, right? I can talk about pesticides in Switzerland and Germany and Brazil. I mean, wherever I am. And I think this is also an important thing to consider. What community, research community and practical community and we come together with and we engage in. Yeah.
I really, oh, do you want to reply?
I don't know.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I don't want to.
Maybe you had a question. I wanted to ask.
I'm just, I just like how nicely it becomes obvious that the different things are intermixed and intermingled, and it's not like this binary north-south gradient, but that colonial mindsets are everywhere, and it's not restricted to certain people or certain places, but they're deeply ingrained in the system somehow, and it's important to uncover them, to become aware of them in order to do something against it.
Yeah. So I was thinking when I was listening to all of you in the plural bodies, no? Bodies matter, which bodies they are telling the story about the continuity of life, reproduction of life, and how to put life in the center, the politics of care in the center. So it is a strong debate. For example, when we talk about extractivism in our places, no? We are analyzing some phenomena of extractivism, and they are overlapped in territories of dispute, no? Territories where indigenous knowledge also stay there, where communities and social organizations also build their politics and their institutions. And the main, and that I will connect with this idea of the museum, the main question that comes from some scholars from the North is that, hey, but because people, they are indigenous, they will not conserve the areas itself. Yes, that question comes to our mind. And of course, that doesn't mean this is so biopolitical, not to imagine that some bodies immediately, because this is intuitive, will take care of nature. So actually we all are nature. So we are all taking care of our entities that live with us in the way that we are doing. And to transform this perspective of conservation areas with institution, local institution, it's also this question about who extract what and who lives in this enchanted world, extracting also not only resources, natural goods and so on, but this logic of what type of knowledge desterritorialize you from the territory, so disconnect you from the territory. In this sense, in the same place where we have extractivism as in agriculture, for example, what we're analyzing, in the same place we have responses, no? People that they are showing to us that it's possible to put reproduction of life or politics of the care in the center. And I will claim to that, no? What strategies we can build to create plural knowledge, different ontologies, let's call it ontologies in Western science. For example, we have Dagava science, we have Vedic science, we have Andean science, Maori science. All of them, they are saying two things important, yes? All of those parameters that come in the center, they are not restricted as disciplines. So we exchange, we interconnect, it's relational. This is one thing, no? So we have spiritual bodies, we have entities around that, we have material connection. I'm still interpreting with this Western view. The second, connected with relational existence, and it is, I think, the center, the future is ancestral. So everything that we are building that as knowledge and technologies actually already happened. So to recover history as the base of our knowledge is to recognize memories, who we are, how we were dealing, how we reconnect with our existence in the middle of this capitalist system, yes? When, with this I will close. When I imagine Maori, the way to understand the word, when I imagine, because I am not Maori, I don't have this experience, Dagava science, and when I imagine from Ghana, Dagava perspective, all of them, they are saying, stop thinking for us. It is the moment that we have to recognize that it's not enough what we are doing in monotony, monoculture. Monoculture is not only the way that we plant, it's also the way that we build knowledge. And that need to respect, that need transformation in terms of how we look at life, instead of building the other, because the other is in front of us, because we believe that we are the one. And who build the ones in this system? Yes.
Yeah, so I just, because you remind me, when I was doing my PhD, I had a concern because I did in fisheries. And every time, that time when the move was create alternative employment so that people, they live fishing. Because when they fish, it means that they create pressure and then they use illegal methods and then the fish will be depleted after some time. But when I went, because yes, I was from quantitative, but also I tried to do qualitative, to get the information. What are their perceptions? Do they really want to leave the fishing? What I found out is that, the creation of alternative employment will increase the pressure. Why? The pressure on fishing. Why? Because the money which they are getting from other employment opportunity, they go and invest more in fishing. Why is that? Because those kind of activities were not profitable. Yeah, were not profitable completely. So for them to leave fishing, which they've been doing, they are their fathers, they've never been to school. So that was a wrong intervention. That was purely a wrong intervention because for them, fishing is everything. So if I fish, I'm rich. I'll have more boats, I'll get food. But for this other, yes, I can just do, you give me money, I'll go and invest more on this one. So you say I think they know, they have knowledge, they know when to fish and when not to fish. So they have informal systems. And every time when I'm in North, I said that in Tanzania, for example, informal systems works better than formal systems. Informal systems work better. So all people, they know that, okay, yes, we don't need, I can't get a loan from the bank, but I can take a loan from the informal banks. So that one, if someone has never been there, so for this, we said increase access to credit. This access to credit, from where? From which institution? Is it from formal or from informal institution? So those are the kind, so they are knowledgeable even though they've never been to school. So they have their system which they learn when they pass the knowledge to each generation and then they put that on. So maybe the problem is that where can you read those kind of knowledge? So we go, yes, so at least I have someone who have been to Tanzania. yeah. So
I go in the same direction. We already have talked about it. It's
Yes.
like how much we guide our research in the Ester or North paradigm of civilization to be more effective. So we go to the communities that they can have save more time, do more energy efficiency, like all this very North paradigms that are not the targets of the communities. We just give an example, one of the cooking stove projects that once they were really obsessed to implement more energy efficient stove, which was really completely the wrong way that people cook and use the cooking time to connect with each other, to talk with them. So they don't want to save time. They don't want to have 1 extra hour in the day, because this is a very important, and we can be more energy efficiency and all, but we need to first understand the cultural structure of the communities if we wanted to start to talk with them, because otherwise we are so part of their rationality that there is such a crash of of intentions and objectives. And we already have the funds and we have the project approved. And so also I think the start of the project is so as the configuration of founding acquisitions are now, as you also mentioned, like we don't have time to understand the community to then talk with them to define the project. So when the problems and so on. So I think there is so many steps before to start a project that we don't have possibility to do because we don't have funds and many things. So I think there is a lot of things to do, a lot to rethink in terms of also participatory approach or co-creation, which everybody is using and seems to be like a fancy word to be everywhere, but we are not questioning what we are really doing. And a lot of participatory research is being used as an instrumental step to implement what the North want or the North priorities. They're just kind of integrating the local communities somehow to implement in an instrumental way what is already being planned to be implemented without respect the local rationalities. I think there is a question there.
Already questions now.
Shall we open the discussion for questions? Okay, then.
Yes, because I was wondering, and now you're talking about.
Greta, maybe come closer so to the hour.
Oscar, repeat the question.
Here.
If we start with my name is Greta, and I was wondering, you're saying it's really hard to have this transformation between you want to do the research and you want to collaborate at the same time you have to get funds and like plan the research before you even start, but it's like a clash. And do you have an idea or like how do you overcome this problem of fixing everything before you start and then restarting and having this gap between what you want and what is expected of you?
Yeah, maybe I
Now you
can
can sit here.
maybe I can just, yes, I want because, I've been involved in the projects. So one way is like, I don't know the funders. I think like we have said that also there is someone who controlled funds, resources, yeah? But there are other funders which they give you seed money. Yeah, this seed money is just before anything. You need really to define the problem. And you define the problem by visiting the area. So, and talk to all important stakeholders. For example, you want to start on the marine protected areas. So you really need to go and talk to all those stakeholders who are involved. For example, talk with fishermen, you talk with those people from the government, you talk with the community. Because if we want to establish a marine protected area, remember that place in the beach, that is the place where they have meeting. It's the place where they socialize. So when you want to put as a protected area, you deny the access. And when you deny the access, I think it will be conflict. You are trying to establish new type of conflict. So you will start there will be war. So it's need to have that seed. There is a time. We need to have a timeline where we define collaborative, because collaboratively, we need to do everything in the collaborative with people, with the all important stakeholders who are affected with what you want to do. That is the one way. Yeah.
Okay.
There are many raised hands.
There are many raised hands already. Is it a short reply?
It's short reply.
Okay, short reply.
I like the way that social movements, they build knowledge because they are not waiting for these financial top-down initiatives to create knowledge. But so actually it's this debate between who give you aid or if you collaborate with people. So if you have a strong agenda as a social organization or as a group or as a, and you can find collaboration from other ways, you will build knowledge anyway, even if you don't have support. So to look for these initiatives and to work with them in their way can be an enterprise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. More questions? Okay.
And the representative.
I can start here, right?
I speak,
loudly.
yeah, I speak
Okay.
loudly, Rhoda.
All right, thank you very much for the discussion. And Jennifer,
I'd like to maybe expand more. I don't know if this is a question, but this is based on my experience. On the impact of funding and the setting the priorities. It's sort of path dependent because most of the funding comes from the global north. And even in the best intentions, this is how I imagine how projects happen. And I think also we must differentiate between Africa and South America. I think that there's a different dynamics going on in these two areas. So when you say global north, I think they should be separated. Of course, it's always context specific, but I'm going to generalize a little bit on Africa. The assumption, I think that the discussion that we're having is that these people are blank slates and that they have not been changed by their what's going on, the history, as Aymara put it, the history where they're coming from, how economics have changed, how their social structure has changed. So there's also need to have consideration about their changes and how that's impacted their communities, and that they're not blank slates and everybody has got a different agenda, even within those communities. And so as you approach them as a Western researcher, or even a researcher myself who comes from there, there's a way that they interact with researchers, with NGOs, that they reflected back to you what you want to hear. And they have been taught that this is how they get money. This is how you need to put certain words into our project proposal. We need to say gender equity, we need to say committee, we need to say climate change. And there's a tendency also among people from the global north who have good intentions in my view, but who also have a tendency to reflect their own values on local communities in Africa. So I read reports that say it's a patriarchal society and there's no gender considerations in terms of gender. So you must have 5 women and 5 men. And I would say this is European. It's not an African thing. So as much as Europeans may want to see this and consider women's rights look a certain way, women's rights may not look, may not be reflected in that way, and they may be reading the situation wrongly. Just a quick story. Someone did research on like why don't women go to markets, and was a colleague of mine from the University of Zambia went and talked to the people because all the projects have said women have no access to the markets in that community because they never took the goods to the market. It's always the men. So when she went and talked to, sat down with the women and said, why don't you go to the markets? Is anybody stopping? He said, no. They said, it's not safe. There's no road, what Jennifer was talking about. And so it takes a long time to go to the market. It's very, it needs a lot of physical strength, and might get robbed on the way. So to keep our women safe, and the women agreed, we as the men go is their stay. So it wasn't that the women had no access to market. Similar research has been done in Tanzania, but who has more impact on the poaching? And it was said that the women actually controlled poaching in the protected area, but they never went poaching themselves. So those kind of nuances and things that are happening within that don't come out, because even the people who have the best intentions go and reflect their own cultures and sensibilities on the people who they're going to do research or have undertaken a project with. So that's just my own experience. Yeah.
Thank you, Lola. Anyone wants to reply to?
Yes, I think that is yes. Thank you for that. And what I want to say, even the communities, even in Tanzania, in the same district or in the same ward, they're not the same. It's like the heterogeneity is real. Yeah, the heterogeneity is real. So that is why I said we researchers, I think we needed to have time to learn and to remove our own biases, because most of the time we go with the assumptions, with the, but just to have that time to go and learn and be there, learn what is happening, the context that you said. I know in Zanzibar, you will not find the women, they go to the market, it's only men, because the women, that is their culture. Yeah, so, but when you go to my mother's place, you will not find the women, they go to fetch firewood. They are men. So the same. So there's, if you go to other culture, you know, it's the women that are doing those kinds. So I think the time to learn is very important to know. Even when you learn, you know their problem, you know their priorities and everything.
Thank you. More questions? Berta raises her hand eagerly.
People online are saying the power relations are here, very clear. So they want the voice. Can I?
Okay.
Okay, I will bring two questions at once. There are questions around the use of buzzwords like nature-based solutions, ecosystem services, the impact of the use of buzzwords. I think it goes into the direction of Rhoda. And they want you to comment on that, how buzzwords coming from the global north, sorry to use global north, from Europe or North America are used later empirically in territories of Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And there is another question that I want to bring. It's not a question, it's actually a comment. Is what about that conceptually we apply all conceptual frameworks from Europe and North America, and then we extract data. The empirical data is comes from cases in the South. So they want you to comment on both. It's, there is one person, no, Camilo, you cannot speak up a question. The setup doesn't work. Just put it in the chat and then I will try to convince the facilitators.
Thank you for the questions.
I can start with some comments. I think the use of frameworks, I think it's something very important to address, like how much we use global north frameworks in our research to understand the global south. I think this is a clear problematic, and this is something that you can address also many times at the individual level. Like when you're writing, you have the power that in many occasions in coloniality situations or structure, you don't know what to do. For example, I don't know how to make the donor create a preface so I can go to the communities and decide the problem with them. I cannot change the ministry, whatever. But when you're writing, when you're deciding your framework, you have a power in it. And I think here it's very important that it's so important that we question ourselves the whole time. Is it what I'm doing colonial?
Yes.
No, because you have a power to a certain extent. There is a lot of structures and you feel small many times and you feel it's everything wrong and everything has to change, and it's true. But there is also individual level of power and coloniality that is very important. And criticize yourself without shame, to feel like, oh, I was colonial here, or I get this impression, or I decide this author because I thought that has more reputation, or how you also recreate or use the terms that you are using. I remember when I come 10 years ago here, there were like 3 terms that took time for me to understand what the North were saying about it. It was agroecology, agroforestry, and I forgot the third one. Because coming from Latin America, we have a huge school of agroecology. Decades of social movement, grassroots movement that say have a lot of frameworks how agroecology works. And then at some kind of Europe discovery, it becomes a European thing. Agroforests, which are indigenous system for millennia times, become like a term, scientific term, that is cited and work and had the full of frameworks from the global north. So these kind of things are like individual power that we have to decide how to use. It's not always easy. Sometimes take a lot of work. Sometimes you don't find this to cite it because it's operating there, but nobody wrote it or published in journals. But you have possibility to try to help to include other worldviews and other epistemology and other authors in your own work when you do research. And I think this is an individual responsibility.
Yeah.
I think you want.
Yeah.
You wanted to answer.
We have some more responses to the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to reflect about our internal colonialism in Bolivia as an example. Like this, we don't feel that it's north, south. Something happened there also with living well. Living well is a term that grew from social movements and this is historical transformation because we are saying nature itself exists and has the right to exist, no? And living well, it was a term also used in our normatives, national normatives. So anytime when we see, for example, cultural heritage or biocultural studies, no, associated with different forms of knowledge that come from the ground, from the indigenous and local communities. So it's easier to feel empathy on this discussion. And so in Bolivia, often people were happy to see now this cultural heritage that is called folklore sometimes even, but they don't want to care about the Indian problems. That actually they are not related exactly with the practices itself, but more to the possibility to continue in the territories to do in the way that they were learning historically their activities. So what are the Indian problems? That was the question, no? So the same government that were applying these traditional beliefs and so on in the more functional way, later were implementing laws that increase extractivism and radical practice to exterminate territories. And that shows at the end that when we see at the intermediation, the glasses of science, in the past it was religion, no? Who was determining who is the right and the wrong, who is the human and the non-human. And now we have science as the institution who is mediating the interpretation of what is the good solution. So anytime when I hear sustainability, I feel a new colonial term coming, but also in the same place where I feel a new colonial term problem, I feel opportunities of all of us to reconstruct, not deconstruct, reconstruct, rebuild the system. Because when we enter with this term sustainable options, and people wait for the scientific community to show the solution, yes, we fail in the beginning. Because the solution is already there. Many words exist, yes? Many words will be possible always because many words exist. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I try not to use the words like ecosystem services or nature-based solutions in my work, not just because I find them colonial. I mean, of course, what happens, we are shifting our problems to the communities that are poorest in the world instead of criticizing capitalist extractivism, right? That's one problem, but the other one problem that is the people with who I work, they say our nature is not your solution. And it reflects also very deeply the epistemic division between humans and nature that I think is really the core of the problems that we have. When we use these terms like ecosystem service or what is it, nature contribution to people, it's still a division of humans and nature. That is at the core of the problem. And this is a very Western science, Western epistemic problem that we have to overcome first. And I think some very good approaches are in the indigenous sciences, but also in ecofeminism. That's of course not about like that women are somehow closer to nature. That's a wrong conception. It's about we are nature. We are connected. Whatever we do to the land, we do to ourselves. And I think this is really more helpful to use these types of science that are not based on this epistemic divide. Nature-based solutions, ecosystem services represents for me. So I try not to use it because I don't find it helpful. We have to think about the world making of our concepts that we use too, because they contribute to the world we are studying.
Thank you. I have a question up there.
Yeah, I wanted to finish up on when Jenna talked about collaboration and colonizing with the community in the study area. And I was wondering, because sometimes it's hard to imagine for me how much should you engage with the area and how much is too much. There would be maybe cultural appropriation. So should you go there living in the area for a certain year, or when is it too much and when is it too less? Because I went to an exhibition in Hamburg and there was a lot of photographs of indigenous people in Brazil, I think, and the photographer, she lived with the indigenous people, and I thought it felt kind of weird for me because she was white and she lived with the people, and then made these pictures to make, to raise awareness about this topic, but I thought it's somehow still weird that she invades in this area, but I don't know, I'm also white person, so maybe it's just
For me, when I say the collaborate, because I think it depends in which phase are we talking about. Yeah, the phase, is it the exploratory phase or is it the, yeah, because I know in a science, you have those who are ethnographers, anthropologists. For them, it's like if they want to study, they need to live with people so that they can be able and uncover other things which maybe even the society with doesn't know from that. So it depends on the phase. But here we are talking I think on the designing phase. We want to change, yeah. We want to transform. We want to make people to be better. So what is their problem? Because this is the time we want to craft, we want to agree, this is a priority, this is a problem. And how can we go about it? It's not only the scientists, yeah? We need to work with people because in most cases, we assume that we need to collect data in a scientific way. But there are some of data which cannot come from science. Others their experience, others their tradition, others you have key informants who they hold those information, they can tell you a story, what happened for many, many years. So all those ones. So it depends what is your main research question. What do you want with them? So you validate, because if you don't validate what you will produce will not be consumed. Yeah, it will stay only on those paper, yeah, we say high impact journals, and then no transformation, no contribution. So we want like everything which we do, we provide information which will be useful. Useful for who? For community, for policymakers, for practitioners, and the other people who they are interested to see those people, they change their lives. Yes.
Yeah, and it's something just on it, because it's also very complementary to what you're saying, Jessica, but it's not only how long, but how, like which kind of methods are using, like, and I think here there is the colonial pedagogies that has to be much more reinforced as in our projects, like really, are you doing interviews face to face with someone? How do you suppose that someone that doesn't know you will trust on you to tell the things? And there's such a power difference that you have there. Like I have worked a lot with theater of oppressors, and you get completely different results when you do a scene with the community. It's much more powerful. They engage their cultural ways of seeing life, they sing during this is completely different than the face-to-face interview. So I think it's how long, but it's also how we are doing.
So similar to what we have in our seminars, no? How to transform education. It is a process of research, and I would like to point in some detail, because you are talking about this theory of oppression pedagogies, transformative pedagogies, and I would say also that this reflection about power relationship is central. Not because we want to tell bad stories all the time and we are so pessimistic and the world will be never transformed, but it is this question, no? How we imagine always the end of the world and we cannot imagine the end of colonialism. The end of colonialists deal with finding these different ways to create knowledge, to transform knowledge, to build transformation together. That will not be single solutions. We need structural changes, and that it's a lot with the nonsense, but also there is a responsibility from researchers of, even if you use the camera or you use your hand, it is what you do with that to transform the system. Yes.
Thank you. I think we have one or two more questions and then we close. So
yeah, maybe concerning also about the knowledge you gain by collaborating, because obviously I remember that in your lecture we were talking about the different types of knowledge you create, like the westernized, a lot of quantitative knowledge, and then how in a lot of regions, the knowledge is transferred in a qualitative way, like with art or with music. And I was wondering, like, how are you expecting the scientific community to change to be able to read this knowledge that is transferred in a such different way that we are doing knowledge gaining? Like, when we are reading papers, you can't put art, you can't put music in the papers. Like, how do you quantify this qualitative art in a way and knowledge? And what do you expect for like a shift to happen? Like, I don't know, video papers or something, like where you have a different feeling also regarding the knowledge.
Yeah, maybe I just because I think we were talking today, and for me, I didn't realize that the problem also here exists, because I was every time I'm trying to reflect the way we are teaching the research methodology course, and where do we start? Yeah, collection of information. Which types do we expose people that there are different types? You can collect, you can present your results in different ways. I think most of the time when we teach research methodology, we say quantitative, qualitative, mixed. Yeah, so those one. But for me, I see this kind of skill is very important for everyone. And I think we are late when we teach them at the higher level. So we need to start from the primary. Maybe you just give task, they go and you ask them, use art to present your results. So what you have gathered outside there, use art, use song. So from the tender age, because for us, we were colonized by British, so we adopted the British educational system. But now we are rethinking, we are reflecting. We are used to dance, so we needed to dance. When you said draw, just draw anything, but this thing which you are drawing is the result of what you collected outside. Can you see that you have started imparting the skill, and then so as you go on, you'll be good. So, but now it's not on a chi-square, p-values. I think only that one. But there are some things which you cannot present by using p-values. The voice. How can you, the facial expression, when they said, for us, when we said here, it's like yes, but when we said here, it's like no. So how can you know? So that is this. So I think it's the system. I think we needed to change it. It's not from the Afro, so it's from the tender age. So we impart that skill, which is very important. The art, Africa, we like to dance, so that is also we needed to present results by dancing, and then you go, singing.
I will include this in the next lecture. Okay, the question from Camilo.
One last question.
Colombia.
There's one also.
What? One more question, two more questions, very short questions, please.
Okay, that's not short. Camilo from Colombia is asking. Yeah, we are gathering, or we are collecting knowledge from communities, sometimes seen, as you said, folklore, but then we become scientists, and then the interviews or the data collected is interpreted, published, and then verified by reviewers, editors. So how to ensure that the owners of the knowledge is respected? How do we give knowledge rights to the people who give us the knowledge, because we are only mere translators? Okay, that's a rough question.
Yes, maybe I tried. I think it's not common for others to acknowledge the communities. But if you go, maybe you can go and try to search how many they acknowledge the community where they collected the information. There are some people, they dedicate even the research to that community because it helped them uncover what was not known. So I think it's good to to show them, and the others, they don't want even money, just to be appreciated and to be, in the, not by words, but in a written form. I think that will be, is good, it's acceptable. And for us, we ask them, and most of them, they like that one. Yeah, so even in the project, the big project, when you phase out all the publication, you call them in the phase out, they are there, they want to be part of that one. Yeah, that will be for them, it will remain for the rest of their life. And also the change will be easy because you start with them and you end with them. So you start with stakeholders and you end with them when you are phasing out. Yeah.
You want to say something? Yeah, it's just quick, but I think we don't have these standards, and we would have to have a methodology, for example, how you give back the results. Like if you don't have this, as you don't have the description of your method, the paper cannot be accepted. You need to have a systematic path where you give back the results, and I think this should be more reinforced. And I think this is very important. In the last research that I have done, I have discussed how they wanted to be recognized in our products. So very clearly. That you give a chance, that they say how I want it to be shown here. And in some cases it could be authorship. They don't want authorship in this community because they don't want, they say, so what science is saying is science thing, but we want it to be in the acknowledgement. So they decide to be in the acknowledgement, and they decide who wants to have the name, who wants to have just kind of anonymous community or area. So I think this is a dialogue that we do when we share the power and the structures that we have to cope with.
Even with that, we're still colonial.
Because the structure is.
And it's important because the structure is like this. So when we think who is benefiting from your work, I remember we put it also this question in our research, who benefit from the transdisciplinary work? And the first answer was the communities. And the second was the academic researchers. But maybe, no? Just to be clever of the power that you have, because otherwise we are with this illusion that we are doing something horizontal. No, we have power. Which power we have, we need to identify. When we identify which public we are going to transfer. And for that, I feel that responsibility, because today I wanted to carry some words that I know there is no time, but just the names, okay? Because this research is made by Marcela Munoz in UFZ, where I work, and it is made with a big team. And they were identified 11 enterprises that were connected with oil palm. And I would love to share this list because that touched you. And when research touch us, I think that connect with our bodies and territories of this food, territories of life, they are in the same place. So if you hear, for example, Unilever, PepsiCo, AKK, Procter and Grain, Golden Agri-Resources, Astra Agro Lestari, McDonald's, Walmart, Wilmart. So these names, they are in our current life. So territories, they are not separate. This is not a discussion about the rural area in the last corner of the world, how we want to build, because we are building this logic as researchers. No, we are talking about global problems that are territorialized in our bodies. And we are all transforming this. So anytime when we denounce, for example, what is going on in this structural violence, in genocide that we have in the present, we recognize our responsibility to put those topics, because there is no possibilities to have climate transformation without peace. And it needs to deal with power. This is our responsibility. So maybe this ethic is missing. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, just for having like four powerful women sitting there. And then also the university that was largely dominated by men. I just wanted to say thank you for coming here and for inviting us into this panel discussion, and for seeing different perspectives, and for being visible, and for also showing our generation that it is possible to reach higher within the educational sector. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have to close the official part of the discussion.
No.
The discussion.
They are saying no.
So,
Because there is one voice waiting.
He was waiting a lot.
Was waiting a lot.
Overwhelming. One last question.
Who are we addressing? You earlier also mentioned you don't like using terms for the framework of ecosystem terms for the different people. I was just wondering, probably the place for them when we're thinking about, hey, we address systems which are rigid and independent of those terms, who are built on those terms. But just as a quick question for precise examples for alternative concepts addressing similar ideas which aren't based on those integration and energy.
Okay, but I don't have a final answer to that. I mean, when I must, then I use something like ecosystem functions, not implying the service to people, but building on concepts that have been co-created by social movements is already better than those that are like on these very high levels. I think, like food sovereignty, for example, it has a very clear, the Geleni Declaration is super clear, it's co-created by many movements. So for that, I feel a bit safer to use those, but of course, it is not a final answer.
So you're welcome to come down afterwards and continue asking and discussing. I would like to close the official event. Thank you very much for all the input, all the ideas, all the interesting things. I think we just scratched the surface. There's so many more things to be discussed. I would like to ask you for a final closing statements or something that you take from the discussion or you felt was most important in the discussion. Just a short something maybe from you. Shall we go back?
Yeah, okay. It's hard. I think there's so many things really in my heart at the moment that I can take from this time, and I'm thank you very much for all of you here to talking. I think I go out here with one message that we have talked about, like how coloniality is inside of us and how we can move. So every day be vigilant about this structure that is everywhere to try to change the things, but also especially change the things inside of you. I think for me, this is what I bring for them from here today. And also by meeting you, we know how important is that we connect to don't feel alone, because it's much more difficult if you're alone, and we are not alone. There is a lot of people fighting for those cases and trying to find a way, and I think we need to connect.
Thank you. So maybe we finish together. So in Bolivia we say Hayaya Warmi Pachacutic. That means that Hayaya is this hope, this wish that we have, and Warmi is woman, but not in the sense of who has a vagina connected with the body, because this is the structural logic that they put on us, but it's more reproduction of life in the sense that we are all seeds of transformation. So Hayaya Warmi Pachacutic is the time of woman, the time of reproduction of life. So I invite you please to help me. I will say Hayaya Warmi Pachacutic and you say Hayaya with me, please, yes? Hayaya Warmi Pachacutic. Hayaya territories of life. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For me, every day is a learning experience. And the message which I'll go with it from Leuphana University is that as a researcher or as a person who wants to transform the society, you need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that is what I can say. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel we really have to decolonize many things and be vigilant all the time. That's true. It's something that is really at the core for me for decolonization topics is power and interest. Look critically at those things. And what I observe is like in our society in the global north right now, we put economic laws above natural laws, and that doesn't work. But this is a question of power. This is because we know that the planet has boundaries, but we don't respect them. We think that the economic law is above it. But these are human-made laws. We can change them. So I think this is really a power question, and this is important to look at.
And this is a power question. Next Thursday, we have the last session on the workings of politics and power in social ecological systems research. So I think this was amazing words to end. That leads to the next Thursday, same room, same hour.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone involved.
Bye, online people, many thanks.